them around her. "So, what happened?" I ask, wanting to know what made her so upset earlier. "I have this tough piece of music," she starts to explain. "I'm having a hard time connecting with it. My instructor keeps telling me what I need to fix, but I don't really know how. It's frustrating. I can perfect my moves, but I don't know how to get into this piece." "So she just bashed you the whole time?" "It's how she is, but the fact that she even came in to work with me is unheard of. She's extremely stern, but she's only trying to help me." "I don't like seeing you upset," I admit to her. When she looks up at me, she says, "It's not a big deal, really." "I didn't like it," I repeat, wanting her to know that I feel for her in a way that seeing her like that bothered me. I keep my eyes on her, and when I sense her feeling uncomfortable, she looks away from me and I ask, "You want that cup of coffee?" "That'd be great. I'm still really cold." "There are some blankets in the trunk by the fireplace," I tell her as I walk into the kitchen. I watch her move around the room as I quickly brew her a cup of coffee. "How do you take it?" I ask as she wraps herself up in one of my blankets and sits back down on the couch. "1 sugar and really blonde," she responds from across the room. "You getting warm?" I ask when I walk back in and hand her the cup of coffee. "Trying to." She cradles the mug in her hands and takes a slow sip. When she turns to see what's playing on the TV, she laughs softly under her breath. "What's so funny?" I question. "You." She looks at me when she continues, "I don't know anyone who watches the classic movie channel aside from you." "You want me to change it?" "No, it's fine," she says as she shifts back on the couch, allowing me to drape my arm around her. "I'm only teasing you." Kicking my feet up onto the coffee table, we watch the blue dahlia with her head resting on my chest. She's still in my clothes when I drive her to her car that's back at the dance studio. As I pull up next to her, I ask, "Why don't you come up to the bar and hang out with us tonight?" "I can't." I nod my head at her response, which never changes every time I invite her to Blur. "I'm sorry," she tells me, "but I'm just really tired and will probably go to bed early. Plus, I have the early shift at work tomorrow." "Your boss doesn't strike me as the type who would mind if you came into work a little hungover," I joke. "You're probably right about that," she says with a grin. "But I've never drunk enough to have ever been hungover." "Never?" I question, shocked that this girl is so innocent that she's never been drunk. "Don't act surprised," she defends. I'm more relieved. I love that she's pure in a way, that she's good and not tarnished like me, like all the others. "I'm not even going to ask why," she laughs as she shakes her head. "But thanks for today." "Anytime." "Tell Mark and Jace I say hi when you see them tonight, okay?" she says as she opens the door and gets out. When she turns to look back at me, she adds, "Thanks again for being there today. It probably would have ended up being a crappy day if I just went home." "Thanks for letting me be there." I watch as she gets into her car and drives off before backing out and heading to work. When I walk in, I make my way over to the bar and spot everyone hanging out while Mel works the bar. I'm a little surprised to see Gavin since our last run-in wasn't all that pleasant. None of them see me as I watch them interact. I look at Jace and Mark and see how they're so happy. They have a direction in life that I've been missing. They have a close relationship with each other, and even with Candace, something I've spent my whole life avoiding. I shift my focus over to Gavin, who's putting the moves on some random chick, and I see me. I see the person I've been for so many years. And from this angle, it doesn't look good. Drifting. That's all I've been doing. My life has been empty, but I never really saw it so clearly until seeing Candace, Mark, and Jace. I see their connection, their focus, and it makes me realize how unfulfilling my life has been up to this point. Up until her. The draw is there. It always has been, but it's beyond the pull. She's filling me with an awareness I never saw before. She made me take a step back to see my life for what it is. Disconnected and stagnant. Before any of them sees me, I turn and walk up to my office. Pulling out my phone, I call Tori. I need assurance, and I know she'll help me. Ryan, hey. Sitting at my desk, I ask, you busy? Not at all. Trevor's putting the kids to bed. What's up? Are you happy? I ask, remembering the flip side of this conversation when we had it back in this summer at my mom's house. What's going on? She asks, picking up on the seriousness in my tone. Just tell me. You and Trevor. Are you happy? Yeah, she breathes. I'm happy. We have our issues. Everybody does. But I'm happy. I'm scared to fall any more than I already have for Candace. But I want to. God, I want to so bad. I want to connect. I want everything that I've been too afraid of. My mom and dad used to be happy. There was a time when they really loved each other. She's told me about it, but it didn't matter. It wasn't enough, and that love transformed itself into a living hell. The hell is all I remember. The screaming, the fighting, the beatings, the constant turmoil and fear. Then I see Tori and her family. They're happy. They're okay. I'm still scared, though. But the thought of walking away scares me more. Ryan, you there? She asks. Yeah, sorry. So are you going to tell me what's going on? I've always been honest with Tori, so I go ahead and tell her, knowing my words are safe with her. I met someone. Is this that someone you denied back at Thanksgiving? Yeah. So what's bothering you about it? She questions. I have a seedy past, and I've never done this. I've never wanted to. But she's nothing like anyone I have ever known, and she makes me nervous. You think she'll judge you for the choices you've made? She's nothing like me. She's so green, and I've been fucking chick after chick since I was 15. Just saying the words is almost mortifying, sickening. And what was once something I couldn't care less about is now something that I'm embarrassed about. Ashamed. I don't have a picture-perfect record either. You know that. But Trevor loves me regardless of who I was before him, she tells me. That's the thing about love. It's a pretty powerful force that can show a side of you that you never knew existed. Show you that you're capable of becoming someone you never thought you could be. And you do it for the other person because you love them. Because you want to put them before yourself. I don't say anything. I just let her words soak in. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. All I know is I want to. For her. Just a piece of advice, she adds. Don't ever lie to her about who you are. If she ever asks, be honest. Yeah. When she says this, I begin to have doubts that it will ever get to that point. I don't even know where this girl's head is at. Just because I want her doesn't mean anything. What if I'm just wasting my time? Shit. I see how she is with Jace. What if that's just how she is with her friends? I even see it when she's with Mark. All she has given me is exactly what I see her giving the two of them. Suddenly, I'm questioning everything. Chapter 16. I've been trying to shake my self-doubts about Candace for the past few days. We continue to chat on the phone and text back and forth, but I can't help wondering if any of this is different with me than it is with Jason Mark. Needing a distraction, I decide to get my Christmas shopping done for the kids today. I thought hitting the gym would help, but here I am, still doubting. My cell starts ringing as I'm grabbing my coat to head out. It's her. Hey. Hi. You busy? She asks, and something about the sound of her voice erases my questioning thoughts. No. I lie as I toss my leather coat onto the couch. What's up? Nothing. Jason Mark left early this morning for Ohio, and I've just been sitting around the house. I didn't know if you wanted to hang out. Oh, I see. Second best since the boys aren't there to keep you entertained, I tease with a laugh. No, she drags out in feigned annoyance at my joke. And you're not second best, she adds, and I'm happy she does because I like hearing it. What did you have in mind? Anything. I just want to get out of my house. She says in a way that makes me think of her non-existent roommate. I know she lives with a girl, but in the past couple of months I've been hanging out with Candace. I've never seen or heard her talk about her roommate. But if she needs to get away, I'll take her away. You up for shopping? Shopping? She questions. Yeah, I need to do some Christmas shopping for my nieces and nephews. You in? Yeah, that sounds good. I'll come pick you up. I tell her before we hang up, and just like that, my day got better. When I pull into her drive, I see her walking down the steps of her front porch. She looks perfect, with her leopard scarf wrapped around her neck and her hair down. When she gets into my car, she looks at me staring at her and asks, What? Being honest, I tell her, I like your hair down. She usually has it in a piled mess on top of her head, which always looks sexy on her, but I have to admit that it's cutest when she's in school, and it's almost always in a tight bun since she dances every day. But I rarely ever see her with her hair down like it is now. She looks uncomfortable with the compliment and doesn't respond to it, instead asking, Can we stop by Pete's and grab something to drink? Laughing at her deflection, I say, Sure, before backing out and heading over to Fremont. As I'm driving, I notice that she seems a little absent as she stares out the window. Is everything okay? I ask, and when she faces me, she questions, Why? You seem distracted. Sorry, she says, and I can tell she's abashed. Thanks for picking me up. Not sure what's causing her mood, I intend to dispel it. Smiling over at her, I say, Anytime. We luck out, finding a parking spot right in front of Pete's, and the place is crowded when we walk in. Candace stands close to me while we wait in line. She's fidgety, absent-mindedly wringing her hands together. A burst of cold air floods in, and when the chime from the door goes off, Candace startles and turns to see an older couple walking in. Her face is nearly stone when I look down at her. Hey, I say as gently as I can, and when she turns around, I ask, You sure you're okay? Fixing a smile on her face, she looks up at me and assures, Yeah, maybe I should just get a decaf tea or something. With humor I'm not buying, but I'm not questioning it either. I reach down, and when I take her hand in mine, she grips me tightly, as if she needs the comfort of my touch. After we order our drinks, we walk out into the brisk air, and she finally seems to breathe easy. Crowds. I forgot for a moment that she doesn't like them, and Pete's was packed with people needing a hot drink to warm up. Opening the car door for her, I help her up and then walk around to get in. we drive across town to a massive toy store that's my go-to spot for the kids. We listen to an old David O'Dowda album as we fight the holiday traffic, and when we pull up, we grab our drinks and head inside. "So, what are you looking for?" she asks as she gets a cart and starts following me down one of the aisles. "Don't know. These kids aren't too hard to please, though," I tell her as I stop and flip through a few board puzzles. "How old are they again?" "Young, all under 5, I say as I start wandering around. Honestly, they'd be happy with a box of tissues and a stick." She laughs at my words, and I turn back to her to get a glimpse. "That's nice," she says teasingly. "It's true." When we turn down the next aisle, filled with pink everything, Candace stops to admire a collection of dolls. I step up behind her and quip, "You want one?" She looks at me over her shoulder and mocks, "No, I don't want one," before looking back at them. "They're pretty." "Grab a couple," I tell her, and watch as she picks out 2 of the dolls and puts them in the cart. We take our time, slowly strolling, grabbing toys here and there as she continues to ask about my family. "So, 7 nieces and nephews." "Yep." "All cousins' kids?" she asks. "I'm an only child, remember?" Nodding her head, she says, "That's right, I forgot. You all sound close." I'm closest with my cousin Tori. We spent a lot of time together while we were in high school. We lived in different towns, but would always get together on the weekends, partying and surfing. "You surf?" she asks as she looks over at me. "I grew up on the beach." "Jay surfs," she tells me. "Yeah, he's mentioned that to me. Grew up in San Diego, right?" "Uh-huh. He goes to Westport every now and then. I've been there a few times, but I go back to Cannon Beach frequently, so I normally get my fill when I'm there." I tell her and catch her staring down the next aisle. "What are you looking at?" "I always wanted one of those," she whines with excitement as she starts walking towards a huge wire bin filled with inflated hop and bounce balls. I laugh while I watch her grab one out of the bin and turn to me. "My friend had one of these when we were little, but she would never let me play with it." "Why didn't you ask your parents for one?" "I did, but—" She trails off, and when she does, I encourage, "Take it for a spin." She completely surprises me when she doesn't even hesitate. Holding the ball by the handle, she walks over to me and hands me her drink. "Here, hold this." Taking her tea, I question, "You serious? That's a toy for an 8-year-old. I poke. She sets the large ball on the ground and sits on top of it, saying with a huge smile, "In case you haven't noticed, I'm about the same size as an 8-year-old. Before spinning around and bouncing away from me down the aisle. I watch her, laughing as she bobs up and down, enjoying seeing her let go for a moment. She isn't worried about how she looks. She never has been. Not embarrassed in the slightest, and I revel in this moment. When she turns to bounce back towards me, I start cracking up at the laughter coming out of her. I've never seen her like this, so carefree. It's beautiful, and I just want to grab her off that stupid ball and kiss her. Just take her and make her mine. So I can touch her whenever I want, to have her. She finally stops bouncing and stands up, still holding the ball in her hands. She continues to giggle while telling me, "Totally worth the wait." "Must have been a good ride," I say. "I think the whole store heard you laughing." She tosses the ball into the cart, and as I cock my head in question, she clarifies, "You have to buy that for the kids." She takes her tea out of my hand, and I'm lost in her. Everything about her. I follow her lead as we continue to make our way through the rest of the store, thankful that she doesn't skip a single aisle, because I need all the time I can get with her. Michael here? I ask Mel when I walk into the bar. Yeah, she hollers over to me. Upstairs. The place is busy tonight as I head up to Michael's office. It's been a good day, although dropping Candace off at her house to come up here was the last thing I wanted to do. But I need to sit down with Michael. He's been dropping the ball on a few things, and shit needs to get back on track. His door is open, so I go ahead and walk in. Ryan, hey, man, he says from behind his desk, which is a mess of papers. I cut to the chase and say, talk to me. While he sorts and stacks a few files, he asks, about what? Not showing up? Supply orders going in late? Schedules not going out on time? He drops the files onto his desk and leans back in his chair. Fuck, man. He sighs. You know I can't have this, so either we figure it out or I'm gonna have to let you go. I tell him honestly. No need to bullshit when it comes to my business. No, I'm getting everything in order. Things have been a little crazy at home, and I let it filter into work, he explains. Kids okay? It's not the kids, he says and takes a pause before revealing. I found out that Amber's been fucking around on me. Seems Mel's eavesdropping skills don't suck. Shit, man. Yeah, it's fucked up, he tells me. Don't worry about things here, though. I've got it under control. Not too comfortable with chatting about this guy's issues, I leave it as it is and let him get back to work, trusting that he's gonna get his crap together. I make my way back down to check in with Mel, and as I pass along the edge of the bar, someone grabs onto my arm. Turning around, I'm face to face with my past. What are you doing here? I ask, and when her hand lingers on me, I take a step back and out of her grip. Having a drink? Waiting for a friend, but he's running late. You should pick a different bar next time, I tell her, turning to leave and spot Gavin walking in. M.I.A., he calls out to me while shaking his head. I've found myself drifting from Gavin as well as most of my bad habits, so seeing him is a little awkward, but not as awkward as having him walk past me and straight to Gina, kissing her. Irritation causes my shoulders to tighten, and when Mel appears from behind the bar, I snap. Back room. She follows behind me as I head into the back stockroom, closing the door behind her. What the fuck did I just see? He brought her in here the other day, she tells me. Said he's been hooking up with her for a couple months now. The door opens and Gavin walks in, thankfully alone. You mad? Mad? No. Disturbed? Kinda, I respond. Dude, weren't you screwing her roommate? He gives me an almost proud smirk and boasts, yeah, man. Have fun with that one, I tell him. So we're cool. I don't care who you're hooking up with, but that girl seems like trouble, I tell him. Maybe so, but she's good in bed, you know? He laughs and then adds, yeah, you know. Regretfully, I do know. I want to forget, but that isn't going to happen. It's my past, and unfortunately, you can't escape your past. I've dealt with that little piece of knowledge my whole life. But I do what I can to shut it out and tell him, don't bring her back up here again. When he turns to walk out, not responding to me, I face Mel and say, I'm serious. You see her in here? I want her out. Yeah, no problem, she says. You okay? Switching the subject, not wanting to discuss it any further, I tell her, let me know if anything starts to fall through the cracks up here. Did you talk to Michael? Being irritated as shit, I don't want to go into this with her, so I leave it with, just let me know, before walking out and calling it a night. Chapter 17. Can you help me with an errand? Yeah, what do you need? I want to go pick up some firewood, but I want enough to last and it won't fit in my trunk. Can you take me since you have the space in your Jeep? At gym now. Will you be ready in a couple of hours? Yes. Thanks. After I finish my workout with Max, I head home to grab a quick shower and a bite to eat before I leave to pick up Candace. The night is colder than usual as I walk out to my Jeep. I make the short drive through the neighborhood, and when I get to Candace's house, I run up to her door to get her. She's shrugging on her gray wool coat when she answers. Hey, she says with a smile when she sees me. You ready? Yeah. I watch her slip on her black gloves as we walk out. As I pull away from her house, she tells me, There's a tree lot on Holman, up from 85th Street. How much are we getting? I don't know, probably just a fourth of a cord. She answers and she adjusts the vent on the dash. You cold? Yeah, she says, and when I laugh, she turns and asks, What's so funny? Nothing. You just have no meat on you to keep you warm, I say teasingly. She's lean with defined muscles, but nothing that takes away from her femininity. Yeah, well, I can't do much about that, she shoots back at me. When we get to the tree lot, Candace places her order with one of the attendants. After paying for the firewood, we find ourselves strolling the lot, looking at the Christmas trees as the guys load up the wood. She stops in front of one of the trees and looks up at it, shivering. Reaching down, I take her hands and rub mine over hers, trying to warm her up. She seems a little apprehensive as she looks up at me, but she doesn't back away. When she starts to drop her arms, I reach down and hold her hand. It isn't the first time I've made a subtle move like this, and I hate the uncertainty of it all. Not knowing how she's feeling about this. About us. I miss Jace, she quietly says out of nowhere as she looks at the tree. She turns to me, and with an almost apologetic look, she explains with a shrug of her shoulders, I'm not used to him being gone. Have you talked to him? This morning, she says, and then turns back to the tree. We should buy this. I look down at her, and even though she didn't mean it literally, I like that she said, we. As she helps me unload the firewood and stack it in her garage, I ask, What are you going to do for the next few weeks? I don't know. This is the first year that Jace isn't here with me. We normally spend most of the break together when I'm not at my parents'. How's that going? I ask, knowing that the last time she saw them it ended badly. It's not, really, she tells me. I spoke with my father for the first time since Thanksgiving a few days ago, and he wants me to come over for dinner Christmas Eve. You haven't spoken with them for all this time? No, she says as we walk back out to grab some more logs. So, you're going over to see them? I ask, already feeling like I want to keep her from going. I know I have no right to say anything, but I can't stand the thought of her being here alone if she winds up in another fight with them. Well, yeah, I don't really want to, but it's Christmas and all. I'm just a little scared about how it will all go. The last time I saw them, we said some pretty nasty things to each other, and I have never gone this long without talking to them. What are they so upset about? I ask, confused by what this girl could possibly be doing that they don't approve of. Everything, she says, as we walk into her house and into the kitchen. She grabs a bottle of wine that has already been opened and starts pouring a glass, adding, Turns out I've been nothing but an embarrassing disappointment to them all along. Taking a beer out of the fridge, I can't help the sigh of irritation that comes out of me. I follow her into the living room, and when we sit down on the couch, I wrap my arm around her, just wanting her to be close to me any way I can get it. I'm sorry, babe, I say softly, and immediately catch the slip and hope she isn't freaked out by what I just said. But when she continues talking, I wonder if she even noticed that I called her babe, or if she did notice and is okay with it. Shit, I really hate this gray area. Honestly, it's nothing that I didn't already know deep down, but it was the first time that it actually hit me that these were their true feelings towards me. I feel it. It's strong and causes a reaction I can't control, and I act on it, demanding, I don't want you going over there. She looks up at me, and there isn't a hint on my face that I'm anything less than serious about what I just said. Ryan, I have to, she defends. They're my parents. I don't care. I don't want you going over there for them to treat you like shit. My words are hard, but they come out before I can even think to soften them up for her. She sighs and leans back into me, resting her head on my chest, and I enjoy the contact. I have to go, she whispers. It's Christmas, and I really should be there. I'm only going for dinner, that's all. Then I'm going with you. What? She says as she pulls away and sits up. I don't want you going alone, Candace, I tell her. I'll go with you. I don't think that's a good idea, she says, but I'm not letting up on this. Well, I don't think it's a good idea that you're going, so we can argue about this, or you can just say okay. Her eyes are locked on mine, stunned by my tone, but the feeling that I have to shield her from getting hurt again is powerful, almost uncontrollable. It takes her a moment, and I watch her brow twitch right before she turns and slowly leans back. Okay, she resolves with uncertainty. Certain or not, I don't care. She said okay, and I take it a step further, pushing her when I add, and I don't want you spending Christmas alone either, so why don't you come home with me? I could use the distraction at the madhouse. What? No. Thanks, but I'll be fine, she says in a high-pitched voice. I'm sure you will be fine, but I don't like the thought of you sitting here alone, so you're coming with me. I need her to come with me. I just need her. With me. Ryan, it feels weird, she argues. Why? Because it just does. I know you have a big family, and I just don't want to intrude. It's not an intrusion, I assure her as I move to face her. My family isn't like that. She drops her head and takes her time contemplating, questioning. Shit, did I go too far? Did I scare her? As soon as I start to regret my words, she speaks. Okay, but no gifts. It makes me uncomfortable. Why's that? I don't know. It just always has. Please, she says, almost begging, and I don't want to push it any further. Excitement rushes through me, a feeling that's all too new for me, but I can't help it, knowing that I get to have her with me for a solid chunk of time. Okay, no gifts, I say with a smile. We both sit back, and when she gets comfortable in my arms, she asks, So when did you start making all the rules? When you started making me worry about you, I respond, completely transparent. Sitting there, I continue to hold her. We don't talk at all. It's quiet and peaceful, and having her warm body tucked in close with mine gets my heart racing. All I can think about is how I want to kiss her, touch her, pick her up, and make good use of her bed. But I know once that happens, I'll never want to leave that bed. The thoughts alone turn me on, and I need to get control of myself. Hey, I whisper, looking down at her. When she tilts her head and peers up at me, she's close. So close that if I lean down slightly, I could kiss her. Maybe I should. But I know myself. I won't want to stop. I don't think I could with her, so instead I say, I should get going. She nods her head, and feeling the movement against my jaw makes leaving so difficult. But that's what I do. I stand, and she walks me to the door. Thanks for helping me out tonight. You don't need to thank me, I tell her, and then walk out to my car after she gives me another nod. The drive home is almost painful, because all I want to do is turn around and take her, claim her as mine, but nothing about this girl is telling me that I should handle her in that way. I'm holding back, and I've never had to do that before. The anticipation drives me crazy, wondering when I'll get to see her again, hear her voice when she calls, or read her words when she texts me. I need to talk to her, be honest, and tell her how I'm feeling. But I just got her to agree to spend the holidays with me, so I'll selfishly take the time and won't mention anything right now. God, killing me. When I wake up, I fix myself a cup of coffee before calling my mom to tell her about the change of plans. Taking my coffee over to the couch, I kick my feet up and call her. Hi, dear, she says when she answers the phone. Hey, you busy? No, how are you? She asks. Good, I have a minor change of plans for Christmas, I tell her. I'm gonna bring Candace with me. I say this, almost cringing at what her reaction is going to be. I've never brought a girl home with me. Ever. She's surprisingly understated when she says, That doesn't sound like something minor. So what's going on with you two? Nothing's going on. But you're bringing her here, home, with the whole family. And nothing's going on, she pries. She's alone and I don't want her to be. That's all, I explain, but we both know that's not all. Alone? Where's her family? I take a long sip of my coffee before explaining. She doesn't have a good relationship with her parents. The last time she saw them, they wound up in a huge fight and they said some pretty bad things to her. She's going back to see them for dinner on Christmas Eve, and I told her that I would go with her. Oh, so when are you coming home? We're going to drive down on Christmas, so I won't be there in the morning with the kids, I tell her, feeling a little guilty that I won't be there when they wake up. They'll understand. I'll talk to them, she assures me. I'm glad I finally get to meet this girl, she says with excitement. Mom, she can be really shy, I warn. I know she's going to be overwhelmed with everyone at the house, and I don't want to make it any more awkward for her if anything was to be insinuated. It's just not that way with us. I'll be on my best behavior, she teases, and I know she will be. Well, I should run out and get her a little something. No gifts. It's Christmas, Ryan, she says, annoyed by my demand. She made me promise, told me that gifts make her uncomfortable. Ryan, how much do you know about this girl? I can hear the uncertainty about Candace in her voice. Why? She lets out a heavy breath before saying, It just sounds like she has some issues going on. And I wonder what you really know about her. I take a moment because all I want to do is defend this girl. Truth is, I know she has issues. I'm not blind to the odd behavior I catch glimpses of and the couple of things that Jason and Mark have said about her. But whatever is going on, I don't think it could ever be enough to keep me away. So I bypass my mom's concerns and leave it at, she's special. I don't know what's going on with us, but she's important to me. I can almost hear my mother smile when she says, Well, then she's important to me too. She's a good girl, but her walls aren't that easy to break down. Sometimes it isn't about breaking walls, dear. Sometimes it's simply about proving yourself to the other person that they're willing to just let them down. My mom's support is a constant in my life, and I'm grateful that I can depend on that from her. Thanks, Mom. Chapter 18. There's no doubt she's nervous when she gets into my car and I start driving up to Shoreline to her parents' house. She doesn't speak as she sits there, looking all proper in her plum knee-length dress and black high heels. She hardly ever wears jewelry or makeup. She doesn't need to. She's perfect. But I don't like seeing her so worried. Relax, I tell her. Ryan, you need to know that Candace, relax. They're just very judgmental people, she warns. There is nothing that they can say that I haven't heard before, I tell her. If anyone can deal with people who degrade you, it's me. I spent my whole childhood listening to a father telling me, every way he could, what a piece of shit I was. I'm sure I can handle whatever it is I'm about to walk into. But it isn't me I'm worried about. It's her. When I pull into the gates of the Highlands, an upscale, affluent community, I look over at Candace and lay my hand over the two of hers that are clenched tightly together. I weave through the neighborhood, and when she points to the house, I pull into the drive and shut the car off. She doesn't open the door or move in any way. She sits, and I let her take her time. After a few moments pass, I ask, "You ready?" "Yeah," she sighs and then opens the door. Walking up to the large, two-story home that overlooks the Sound, she takes a deep breath before opening the front door. We walk in, and I take in my surroundings. I knew that she came from money. I do too, but there's a difference between being affluent and wealthy. This is wealth. "Bunny!" her father beams as he walks through the foyer with his arms out to pull her into a hug. From his demeanor, you would never expect the family drama that lies underneath the surface. My father was the same way. No one would ever suspect the violent man that he was behind closed doors. He takes a step back from Candace and turns to me. He wears a tailored charcoal suit and has almost polished silver hair. "And you must be Ryan. Thanks for joining us," he says to me, shaking my hand. "Good to meet you, sir." "Come in," he says as he leads us back through the formal living room and into the kitchen. He turns to Candace and tells her, "Your mother is finishing getting ready. She should be out shortly." She only smiles up at him. "What can I get you two to drink?" he asks. "A beer is good, Mr. Parker," I say to him. "Please, call me Charles." With drinks in hand, we make our way back to the library that spans the 2 stories of the house with a large walk-in fireplace. I sit next to Candace on the tucked leather couch as her father asks, "So, Ryan, what is it that you do?" "I own a bar right off campus," I tell him as Candace shifts nervously at my side. "Oh, how did you get into that type of work?" I briefly explain how I acquired the business after I graduated from UW, and he follows along, nodding his head. "What did you study in college?" he asks before taking a sip of his scotch. "Finance." "Now that's a respectable degree," I hear, and when I turn my head, I see a petite woman with shoulder-length brown hair wearing a dress similar to Candace's, only in navy. But where Candace is more reserved, There isn't a question about her mother's social standing by the way she carries herself in a much too proud manner as she walks across the room, almost demanding attention. Candace stands to give her mom a stiff hug. "Hi, Mom." "Good to see you, darling," she drawls before turning to me. "And Ryan, welcome." I step closer and take her hand, saying, "Thank you for having me." "Of course. It isn't every day that our daughter brings a man home," she says in a patronizing tone, and I look over to see Candace rolling her eyes as we sit down. "Ryan was just telling me about the bar he owns," her father announces. "A bar?" she questions, as if the words have a bad taste to them. She has no idea that the bar I own has afforded me an extremely comfortable lifestyle. Before she can continue, Candace jumps in and changes the subject, asking about her parents' upcoming trip to Aspen. Candace and I sit back and listen to their plans before her father excuses himself, and Candace takes me to show me around the house. We walk outside to the backyard and look at the view of the Sound. "I'm sorry about that," Candace says softly as we take a seat on one of the benches. "About what?" She looks at me with apology. "They can be a lot. They're pretty pretentious. Candace, no one has perfect parents. Everyone's flawed in some way." I slip my arm over her shoulders as she tightens the scarf around her neck. "So, you grew up here in Shoreline?" I ask. "Yeah, in this very house. The Kellys, who live across the street, have a daughter that's the same age as me. We used to be best friends when we were growing up." "And now?" "And now all I really have is Jace, Mark, and you." She tells me, and knowing that she sees me as someone she can at least group with Jace and Mark gives me a little relief. "What about your roommate?" "Kimber? We used to be really close, but not so much anymore." "So what happened to all your friends from high school?" I ask, curious as to why she secludes herself in a manner that prevents her from having more people in her life. "They've moved on, applying to grad schools, getting married, making a life for themselves. Most of the kids here wind up becoming people like my parents, more concerned about their image and what social circle they're in. It's not me, so I never cared enough to stay in touch with anyone." I see how her parents could be upset that she doesn't seem to follow suit with their expectations. That Candace would be driven enough to step out of that life to create a new one, a more comfortable one, for herself. She's ambitious in a way that's unique from her parents, following a passion, dance, to build a life that she can find pleasure in. "We should go back inside," she tells me, and when we walk in, her father calls from the other room. "Candace, can you come in here?" "Yeah, just a second." She looks at me and says, "I'll be right back. Make yourself at home." "Do you want me to come with you?" "No, it's okay," she assures me before heading back to the library. I take this time to stroll aimlessly through the house. Walking into the formal living room, I scan the framed photos that are displayed on the black grand piano. Family portraits through the years. Candace as a young girl, wearing a frilly white dress with white gloves, searching for Easter eggs on the greens of a golf course. A picture-perfect family. But from what little I have picked up from Jace, she was miserable. But out of all the photos, none of her dancing. I'm curious to know what she would look like dancing. She's so poised as it is, but to see how she would move intrigues me. My attention shifts to the library when I hear Candace yelling. I don't miss a beat when I start walking through the house to where she is, concerned about what they're talking about and what has Candace raising her voice when she's always so quiet. I can draw my own conclusions about what kind of relationship she has with her parents and wonder if they are the ones she needs to be protected from. When I step to the closed double doors, I hear her father bark. "You have a name to uphold." "I just don't understand you," her mother snaps. "You should be thanking your father, not pouting." And the sound of her condescending voice irks the hell out of me. "You are unbelievable, Mother. I'm not a child." Candace's voice is strained as she yells, and I can't bear the pain in her words. I barge in and see the annoyance on her mother's face, so I lock my eyes on Candace. But she doesn't notice as she continues shouting at her mom. "You can't just step in and take away everything I have worked so hard for during these past 4 years. How can you call yourself a mother? You're nothing. You say you're embarrassed by me? Well, it goes both ways." I rush across the room to her side, and when she finally stops to catch her breath, she sees me. "We're leaving now," I demand as I take in her tear-stained face. "Excuse me, but this is a private matter," I hear her mother say, but I don't take my eyes off of Candace as she continues to cry, staring at me in shock. I'm pissed, and she sees it. Holding out my hand for her, her mother doesn't stop when she threatens. "Candace, if you walk out, it's over. Don't come back. We refuse to sit back and watch you ruin your life." When her mother says this, anger roils inside of me, and I want to slap the fuck out of her lily-white ass for threatening her own daughter. "Daddy?" Candace says as she looks to her father, pleading, and it hurts to hear her so desperate.
"We're done letting you play games, Bunny. No more."
She stands there, tears falling from her eyes while she looks at her parents. All I want to do is take her away, comfort her and get her out of here. And when she slides her hand in mine, that's exactly what I do. I grip her tightly and get her out of this house as fast as I can. I snatch up our coats and walk her out to my car. When I open the door for her, she reaches out to grip the side of my seat, and I know she's about to break, so I grab her and pull her into me. Clutching my arms around her, I hear it. Painful sobs start to break through, and she clings to me, crying. The tension in my body is heady with the urge to put her in the car and go inside to knock the shit out of her parents. I'm fueled by disgust for these people. That they would lash those words at Candace, leaving her broken in the driveway, falling apart in my arms. But at least they're my arms that are attempting to comfort her, because even though she doesn't know it, I don't think anyone could give her what I want to give her. I'd give her the fucking world if I could. After a while, her body begins to shiver with chills as she starts to quiet down. She keeps her head tucked against me, and I feel her fingertips pressed into my back. Her breathing is staggered, and when she pulls back, she keeps her head down, not looking at me, embarrassed. I lean down and kiss the top of her head before helping her up into the car. The drive back is somber. I look over at her as she stares out the window. She's sad, and my need to comfort her is overwhelming. She must sense me watching her when she turns her head to me. Her chin quivers, and she shrugs her shoulders, defeated, as fresh tears fall down her cheeks. I reach over and take her hand, pulling it onto my lap. I keep it there all the way back to her house. Once we're inside, I go to the kitchen to get her a glass of wine, figuring she could use one. As I walk into the living room, she's curled on the couch with her heels kicked off on the floor. I hand her the glass and she swallows it fast before handing it back to me. Setting it on the end table, I sit down, leaning into the corner of the couch and pull her between my legs and on top of me. She lies there and doesn't move, as I thread my fingers through her soft, thick hair. "You okay?" I ask. She doesn't answer. She just shakes her head and after a second begins crying again, wetting my shirt as she nuzzles into my chest. I strengthen my arms around her and let her cry without saying anything. The hurt coming out of her is hard to listen to, but I do, and it breaks me. Breaks me in a way that even though I hate it, I find myself savoring it. The connection, her need for me right now, and the contentment I find in being the one to give it to her. Time passes and she's fallen asleep on me. I can feel her steady breaths against me, and I'd hold on to her all night, just like this, if I knew she'd be okay with it. I want to be selfish and take it, but I know she wouldn't be comfortable with it. So, as much as I don't want to feel her move off of me, I comb her hair with my fingers and whisper, "Candace." She softly hums as she stirs awake. "It's getting late. You should go sleep in your bed." Placing her hands on my chest, she pushes herself up, and I notice her bloodshot eyes. "Are you going to be okay if I leave?" I ask, hoping she'll want me to stay, but knowing that it's just a hope. She nods her head and sits up. I move to stand and turn to take her hand, pulling her off of the couch and into a hug. She bands her arms around me and I tell her, "We can stay here tomorrow. We don't have to go to my mom's." Leaning her head back to look up at me, she says, "It's okay. Candace, I could use the distraction. It'll be okay." She tries assuring me. "Call me when you wake up. You might feel differently in the morning." She walks me to the door, and before I leave, she stops me, saying, "Ryan." I look back at her, and she takes a pause before continuing. "I'm sorry. Tonight, just don't worry about it. Honestly, thanks," she says softly before I walk out. Candace called me when she woke up this morning, assuring me that she still wanted to go to Oregon. I offered to stay here with her, but she told me that she really did want the distraction, so I didn't question her any more about it. I finish packing my bag, and I think about how things with the two of us have shifted in the past couple of weeks. I'm falling for this girl hard, and I know I'm not going to be able to keep this from her for very much longer, but I'm nervous that I might ruin what we have. Honestly, even though it isn't enough for me, I'll take it if this is all she wants to give. I carry my bag downstairs and decide to call Jace. I don't know if Candace has spoken with him this morning, but I call him anyway to let him know what happened last night. "Hey, Ryan." "Jace, hey. You have a minute?" I ask as I start making myself a coffee for the road. "Yeah, what's up?" "Have you talked to Candace this morning?" "No, why?" "Did something happen with her parents?" he asks, sounding worried. "It wasn't good, man." "Tell me." "Her parents are a piece of work. Pretentious dicks. I don't know the whole argument 'cause I was in the other room, but there was a lot of yelling, and when I went in there to get her, her parents threatened to cut her off, told her they were done with her, threw her out." "Shit," he sighs out. "How is she?" "She didn't talk, but I didn't ask either. She was just really upset. I stayed with her for a while last night, but I wasn't sure if she had called you, so I wanted to let you know." I tell him as I screw the lid onto my travel mug and walk over to sit down on the couch. "Thanks. I'll try giving her a call. I hate that she's stuck there." "She's not. I'm about to go pick her up." "Where are you guys going?" he asks, and I'm surprised that he doesn't already know. "Has she not told you?" "Told me what?" he questions. "She's coming home with me to my mom's for a few days." "What?" Yeah, he had no clue by the shock in his tone. "I can't believe she didn't say anything to me." Sorry, I figured you knew. No. All of a sudden, I feel the need to talk to him about Candace, knowing that the two of them are like family and that he's really protective of her. I need to know if I should be pursuing her. As awkward as this is, I go ahead and lay it out there. I need to tell you something. Yeah? He responds. Look, I know the two of you are really close, so I feel like I should let you know that... I pause briefly before admitting, I really like her. I figured as much, he lets out with a chuckle under his breath. Have you told her? I'm relieved that he's being so relaxed about what I just said. No, I don't know where her head is at. I'm not sure if she'd even be interested in anything. I think she is, he says, giving me hope, and then adds, Look, I get that she's closed off, but she wouldn't be hanging out with you like she has been if she didn't trust you. She's the hardest person I've ever had to read, I admit with a laugh. I probably shouldn't say this, but you need to know that she's been going through a lot this year. It's been rough, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you're anything less than serious about her, then don't go there. He tells me this, and I try not to wonder too much about what's going on with her, though I'm beginning to think that there could be a lot more to her parents than what I've seen. I hear you, I tell him. I'm serious. She isn't like most girls. She's really innocent, so don't push her, he warns. It's not like that with her. I don't mean to sound like an ass or anything. Jace, man, it's fine, I get it, I tell him, and a part of me is glad that he's being this way about her, that she has someone like him there for her. Mark and I are hanging out with his family, so I've got to run. I'll try giving her a call, though. Okay, thanks, man. I'll talk to you later. Hearing him assure me that I'm not wasting my time soothes some of the anxiety I've been having about Candace. This girl has woven herself into my life, and for a change, I want to keep her there. Chapter 19. Candace was a little antsy when I picked her up this morning. We're running later than what I told my mom because I didn't want to rush her. She didn't get much sleep last night, so she just wasn't herself, worrying about how she looked and wondering if my family would think she was rude since she tends to be quiet. I've never seen her so uptight, so I let her move at her own pace. She fell asleep about halfway into the drive, and as I look over at her, she's still sound asleep, sitting there in her modest black dress. She looks beautiful as she sleeps, but it bothers me to think that at this moment, she's probably happier in her dreams than she is when she's awake. When we start getting closer to the coast, I decide to go ahead and wake her up. Trying not to startle her, I run my knuckles up and down her arm until I see her eyes start to blink open. How long have I been asleep? She murmurs. Couple of hours. Really? I smile over at her. Really? She adjusts the seat and sits up to look out the window. The canopy of trees that hide the sky on the winding road through the mountains makes it dark. How much longer do we have to go? She asks. About 20 minutes. Are you feeling better? Yeah, I was really tired. Music? I ask, and when she agrees, I tell her, you pick. She takes my cell phone since she likes all my music and syncs it up with the stereo, selecting Ride by Lana Del Rey. She sets my phone down and sits back as the music fills the car, and I enjoy the doleful, limpid melody of the song. You're quiet over there, I say after a while. Just a little nervous, she tells me as she continues to watch the mist collecting on the window. I give her knee a squeeze and say, Don't be. Seeing the unconvincing grin on her face, I decide to just let her be for the rest of the drive. When we arrive, I park the car and walk around to open the door. She's not quick to get out, so I take her hands to help her down, encouraging, "Don't be so nervous. Just relax." I laugh under my breath as I watch her fidgeting with the skirt of her dress, smoothing it down. "Why are you laughing at me?" "Because I've never seen you so wound up before." I take her hand and start walking her to the front door, but when she tugs back and stops, I turn to hear her say, "Ryan, I don't do well around a lot of people." I try to coax her with my words, telling her, "My family will love you, but if you feel that uncomfortable, we can go. Just say the word." "No, I want to meet them. Hey, I'm right here. No worries, okay?" "Okay." Holding her hand, I lead her inside as two of my nephews run through the entryway, chasing each other. I laugh and walk her back to the kitchen. "Finally, you made it," my mom says excitedly and rushes over to hug me, but I keep my grip on Candace. "Mom, this is Candace," I introduce, and my mom pulls her in for a hug as well. "I'm so glad to finally meet you, dear," my mom tells her, and she's not even trying to hide that she's thrilled with the fact that I brought a girl home and she isn't some barfly. My Aunt Carol brings me in for a hug, excited to see me, and before I know it, the kids all start flooding into the kitchen, screaming my name. I spot Sophie, one of my nieces, and pick her up as Tori and my other cousin's husbands come in to say hi. Tori and my other cousin, Jenna, give me curious looks, and I try to ignore them, knowing they are just waiting to start digging into my business about Candace. I told my mom to discreetly tell my cousins to keep a tight lip so they don't embarrass Candace. But I know Jenna and Katie, and those chicks are nosy. When Sophie starts poking her finger in my ear, I catch Bailey toddling over to me. Bending down, I scoop her up in my other arm, ravishing her neck with playful kisses as she squeals and giggles. "You weren't kidding," Tori whispers to me as my cousin Jenna comes over to take Sophie out of my arms. "What?" I question, trying to keep my voice under my breath. She laughs. "She's way out of your league." "Thanks," I say with mockery. "You know I'm teasing. She's just polished." Tell the girls not to interrogate her. Donna already said something, but you know how Katie is. "Where is she, by the way?" I ask. "Upstairs with Maddie. She had an upset stomach earlier." "My room?" "Yeah." Why is my room always the hot spot for everyone's spawn when they get sick? I joke, and then turn to look at Candace, but she's no longer in the kitchen, and I quickly realize that in the madness of saying hi, I left her alone. "Mom, where's Candace?" I ask. "Ladies' room," she mouths to me, and I walk down the hall to wait for her, feeling bad, and wondering if all that was too much for her. Who am I kidding? Of course it was. My family is big and loud, and Candace doesn't even like being in a crowded coffee shop. When she doesn't come out after a few minutes, I gently knock on the door. "Everything okay?" I ask as she opens the door. "When I looked up, you were gone." "Yeah, just needed a moment to myself." "Sorry about that." "It's okay. I'm just not used to—" "I know." I see that she's a bit rattled, so I step closer to her and run my hands down her arms. "Do you need a few more minutes?" "No, I'm fine." When we walk back into the kitchen, the kids are watching their movie and the chaos has dissipated. I pour her a glass of wine and hand it to her, whispering, "Come on," in her ear. I lead her through the house, showing her around as I take her to one of the back rooms that looks out over the water. We're alone, and it's quiet as we stand in front of the large picture window. Better? I ask, and she smiles as she looks at me. I guess I didn't realize how big your family is. I mean, you've told me, but it can be a lot, I tell her. Having 20 of us here can be overwhelming. It's more the women and kids. The guys are always laying low, trying to dodge the madness. This is a great view, she says. Have you always lived here? Yeah. Small town. You have no idea, I say with a hint of humor. I used to spend most of my time in Seaside or Astoria. That's where Tori's from. Is there even a school there? She asks with a huge smile, finding it funny. Not a whole lot of people are permanent residents of this area. It's mostly vacation rentals, but we're one of the few that actually call it home. No, I tell her. The schools are in Seaside, but I went to private school. Me too. We chat for a few more minutes, and when she seems more at ease, we head back. Tori and Jenna are sitting in the dining room when we pass through. Candace, come join us, Tori offers, and when Candace hesitates, I tell her it's fine, letting her know that I'll be in the other room with my mom. I know Tori is curious about her, and I also trust her enough to know Candace will be fine. I find my mom in the kitchen, working on dinner. It's just the two of us, and she stops what she's doing as we lean against the counter and talk. How did this morning go with the kids? I ask, a little bummed that I wasn't here. Anarchic, she laughs. I bet. They missed you. I have all their presents outside, I tell her. We can open them later. She takes a sip from her glass of water and then asks, Where's Candace? Dining room with Tor and Jenna. She nods her head with a smile, and I know she's biting her tongue, so I tell her, just say it. What? Whatever it is that has you looking at me like that, Mom. When she sets her glass down on the counter, she reveals, She's different than I was expecting. How so? Just different. When I narrow my eyes at her, she grins and assures, It's a good thing, dear. Relax. Before patting my arm a couple of times and walking away. Where are you going? Dining room to visit with the girls. I let her have her time with Candace, even though I feel like I want to go in there and check on her. But I don't. Instead, I busy myself with Connor, helping him out with a puzzle on the floor. When I look up, I see my mom and Candace passing through the kitchen. She catches my eye, and I give her a small half grin as they walk through, heading to the study. I like seeing her here, with my mom, in my familiar surroundings, mixed in with my family. Candace is now in the kitchen, helping Mom cook while I drink a beer and hang out with the guys. I can't keep my eyes off of her as I watch her laughing with my mom while they get everything ready for dinner. And I know instantly that I want to see this again. Have her here again. She makes me nervous because she has this power about her that is dragging emotions out of me when no one in the past has been able to. She has no clue what she's doing to me. And that's a scary thing when I think about admitting how I'm feeling about her. After a while, I unload the gifts and let the kids open everything. My mom was right. They're much crazier than they were last year. But they're another year older, and I'm sure next year will be even wilder. Candace sits on the couch with Tori while they laugh at me being overtaken by the little ones. When dinner is done, Candace excuses herself to go upstairs to relieve Katie from mommy duties. Her daughter, Maddie, hasn't been feeling well all day, and Candace told me that she needed some quiet time, so she's up in my room with Maddie, and Katie is finally getting to eat dinner. My aunts are cleaning up, Jenna and the guys are getting all the kids ready for bed, and Tori and I band off into the study to talk. I got a job, she tells me as we sit down. What made you decide to go back to work? After you and I talked this summer, I decided to just be honest with Trevor. Told him pretty much what I told you, she says. He suggested the same thing. Thought I should get out of the house, get back into a routine. So I called my old boss, and it was as easy as that. When do you start? I ask. Second week in January. She says with a little uncertainty. You ready to leave Connor and Bailey? Yes and no. Tori is a great mom and is very attached to her kids, so it makes sense that this transition would be hard for her since she's been a stay-at-home mom for the past 4 years. It'll be fine, I say. So you and Trevor are on the same page? He never got off track. It was me. I think I've been miserable because I've been lost. I wasn't doing anything about it, and it made me start questioning everything. But he's supportive. Always has been. He just had no clue how I was feeling. Once I was honest with him, things started to change. So yeah, we're good. Good. What about you? She questions. What do you mean? I ask, not understanding what she's asking. Being honest, she starts. Candace told me that she thinks you brought her here because you feel sorry for her. She said that? I feel horrible that she would even think that. Tori nods her head and then questions, how long do you plan on avoiding telling her how you feel? Letting out a deep breath, I tell her, she makes me nervous. When Tori smiles, I say, I'm glad you're enjoying my discomfort. I'm just enjoying seeing a girl have this effect on you, she admits before standing up. I'm heading to bed, but for what it's worth, I really like her. I follow her out, and the house is quiet. I see my mom in the kitchen, turning everything off. You going to bed? I ask her. Yes, it's getting late. Is Candace still upstairs? Yeah, I'm gonna go up there and get her. I think we'll just crash down here and let Maddie take my bed. Well, tell her that I'll see her in the morning, will you? Okay, Mom. We say goodnight, and I go to the hall closet to put out some blankets and pillows. I toss everything on the floor, making a makeshift bed for me to sleep on and lay out a blanket and pillow on the couch for Candace. We had planned on her taking my room, but since Maddie is sick, I figure this is a fair alternative. I pick up Candace's bag and head upstairs to my room. Quietly, I open the door to see Maddie passed out, lying on top of Candace. When she rolls her head to the side and looks at me, I walk in and laugh. Are you stuck under Maddie? I didn't want to move and wake her up. What time is it? She asks. Past 11. Everyone has gone to bed. I told Katie that I would check on you and Maddie. I wanted to thank your mom before she went to bed. Don't worry about it. Here's your bag. I tell her as I set it next to the bed. I made a big pallet of blankets and pillows downstairs in the living room. Since Maddie is in my room, we're just going to sleep down there. We can watch a movie or something if you want. Oh, She stutters, and I know she's uncomfortable with the change in plans. Don't worry, I'll take the floor and you can have the couch. I walk over to my dresser to pull out a pair of pajama pants for myself and let her know, I'll be downstairs. You can use my bathroom to change, before walking out and heading back down. It doesn't take too long before Candace is walking down in a black sleeveless top and a pair of pajama pants. She has no clue how sexy she looks right now, and I have to look away. I open the fridge to grab a bottle of water. You mind if I take the floor? She asks. You sure? Yeah, it looks more comfortable anyway. Okay. She sits down and slides herself under the pile of blankets as I walk over and sit next to her. The thought of sleeping, even in the same room as her, has me on edge. It's like dangling a piece of meat in front of a starved animal. It's life's sick revenge for taking things way too easily, and now making me restrain myself in the worst way possible, because I've never wanted anything more. TCM? I ask as I flick on the TV. It's all we ever watch, she teases, and I like it. Why switch now? I think you're starting to like my movies. Maybe. We sit back and start watching a movie before I ask her, Were you okay today? I was. You're really lucky. You have a great family. Well, everyone really likes you, especially my mom. She's really nice. We had some time to visit earlier. She starts to grow tired as she inches herself under the covers and lays her head on the pillow by my side. When I look down at her, she has her eyes closed. Knowing she's still awake, I don't let that stop me from running my fingers through her hair. I continue to do this as I zone out on the TV. My mind can't even focus, and when I hear her breathing steady, I slip my hand under her head and gently move her to my lap. When I do this, she unconsciously wraps her one arm around my waist, and with greed, I savor the contact. She seemed to enjoy herself today, and I'm grateful that I was able to give this to her, since yesterday went horribly wrong, having to walk away from the only blood family she knows. The reactions she sparks in me are intense, and I know I need to heed Tori's advice and be honest with her. Soon. But I take this moment and just relish her being so close to me. I don't want to fall asleep, but when my eyes grow too heavy for me to fight, I reluctantly slip myself out from underneath her, laying her head back down on the pillow, and find myself alone on the couch. I lie there, across the room, the only hint of light coming from the last sparks of fire in the fireplace. It's enough of a glow that I can still watch her, so that's what I do. I watch her as she sleeps until I finally drift off. Chapter 20. My eyes shoot open when I hear a hard gasp of air. Candace is panicked, trying to catch her breath as her body thrashes awake. I lurch off of the couch, and I'm by her side in an instant, pulling her into my arms. You okay? Her body is stiff with tension as she shakes under my hold. What happened, babe? Bad dream, she quietly whispers through her erratic breaths. Slow your breathing down, okay? I tell her as I hold her against my chest. I'm slightly disoriented, still in a haze as my head catches up to my body's sudden alertness. When she wraps her arms around my waist, I begin to rub her back, trying to soothe her from her nightmare. She scared the shit out of me, yanking me out of a deep sleep. I can start to feel her breathing slow down, and when it does, I ask, Want to talk about it? Curious as to what she was dreaming about that caused her that much panic. She shakes her head no against me, and I keep her folded in my arms as I lower us down and pull the blankets over us. Face to face, her eyes shift up to mine. I have her tucked tightly to me as she begins to get her breathing under control and relaxes. I don't want to think about what's in her head that's clearly tormenting her, because looking at her as she peers up at me with her hazel eyes is all I want to focus on. I can't read her expression, but right now, I try not to decode her. I just take her in. I feel the build-up beating inside of me, and I can't keep it in any longer. I want her. I run my hand over her forehead and down to her cheek where I keep it. I study every detail about her, and her breathing increases slightly along with mine. I know she feels it, feels what I want. I don't even need to say anything because the attraction is that palpable. Her brow twitches when she slides her small hand over my cheek and rests it there. Wrapped up in each other, close, I scan her face for a sign. Permission. For anything that tells me this is okay. I can tell she's scared. I can tell she doesn't know if she wants this, wants me. God, I just want to kiss her. But more than that, I want her to kiss me. I want her to want it as badly as I do. And when my eyes find hers again, she gives me the slightest nod of her head, and I've never felt so relieved in my life. She wants me. Knowing that I'll want more than she'll give me, I move slow, needing this to last for as long as she'll let it. Her eyes fall shut and she begins to tremble. I hate that she's scared of this when it feels so right to me, but I'm determined to take her apprehension about this away as I softly press my lips to hers. I'm gone. I knew I would be. My heart thuds hard as I tighten my grip on her, needing her as close to me as I can get her. I kiss her slowly. And when she finally relaxes and begins to move her lips with mine, I take more. I can't help myself. I drag my tongue across her lip, smooth, soft. She's the sweetest thing I've ever tasted. Threading my hand in her hair, pressing her body into me, she wraps her hands up from underneath my arms and braces them tightly on my shoulders. A soft whimper breaks from her, but she never takes her lips from mine. She has me, and I'm fucking lost in her right now. I've never had the ties of emotion with a girl, so to say this one has me bound would be an understatement. What she gives me is something I never even knew I needed, so I never even looked for it. Moving us off our sides, I roll on top of her, and I feel her soften beneath me. She runs her hands down my shoulders and grips my forearms tightly as I gently nip her lip before she allows me to dip my tongue inside of her mouth. I linger, moving slowly, needing to feel as much of her as I can. She caresses my tongue with hers, and having her like this, giving this to me like she is, I know I have to make her mine because I'm never going to want to let her go. But when she pushes her hands against my arms, everything is questionable again as she pulls away from me. Sorry, she whispers, eyes still closed. Tucking my arm underneath her, I speak quietly. Look at me, Candace. I brush the back of my fingers along the soft skin of her face. When she finally opens her eyes and looks up at me, I say, I don't want you to feel sorry for that. She lets out a small hum as she slowly nods her head, but it's when she slides her arms around my back, holding on to me, that I begin to calm. I rest my forehead on hers and breathe her in, taking all I can. I feel her head shift as she tilts her chin up, and this time, I don't have to take. She lifts up and melds her lips with mine, and I slowly fall into her mouth as she holds my face in her warm hands, keeping me close to her. When I finally drag my lips off of hers, she stays close, and I keep her that way until she falls asleep. I watch her. I can't help myself. I have her arms around me and spend a lengthy amount of time stroking her back, touching the bare skin along her neck, her arms, her jaw, before falling asleep with her. I'm awake. She doesn't know it because I'm greedy and don't want to move away from her. She woke up a few minutes ago, but I lie here with my eyes closed, arm around her, legs tangled with hers. It feels too good to disrupt, so I don't. I wonder how she's feeling after last night. 1,000 questions start to rack my brain. And now I fear that I'll never get that again. So for now, I pretend to sleep. Night-night over, I hear Bailey's voice declare, and I know the pretending is done. It's not over, Bailey. I mumble, just wanting a few more minutes with Candace. I feel her shift, but I keep my eyes shut, and I know I'm busted. I don't care, though. I eat breakfast. Night-night over. Okay, Candace whispers and begins to slip out of my hold, but I tighten my arm around her and pull her back to me. Where are you going? I ask, finally opening my eyes. To go get her something to eat. She slides out of the blankets, and I can only hope that I'll be able to get her in my sheets again, that I can continue to have her like I did last night. I roll over and watch as she settles Bailey with a bowl of cereal. Getting up, I make my way into the kitchen to start a pot of coffee while Candace busies herself with Bailey, peeling a banana for her. Want some? I ask as she walks back into the kitchen. She keeps her eyes down and gives me a nod. Fuck. She doesn't want to look at me. She's embarrassed. Nervous. Not what I was wanting. I'm gonna sneak upstairs and get cleaned up, she says as I rip open a packet of sugar for her coffee. After I stir in the cream, I hand the mug to her and she finally meets my eyes. Timid. She quietly thanks me and stands there for a moment, staring at the steam floating off of the coffee. I'm scared to know what she's thinking so intently about, but I ask anyway. Hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to get ready before everyone wakes up. Okay. I know she really just needs to get space from me, and I have no choice but to accept it as I watch her head upstairs to my room. I wander over and sit down next to Bailey at the table as she smacks on her cereal. Nursing my cup of coffee, I decide that I'm not going to let her shut down. I don't want her feeling uncomfortable, so I'll get her out of the house and take her to one of my favorite places. I need to talk with her. Be honest. Let her know how I'm feeling, because if I don't, then she's going to continue to feel awkward for the next couple of days that we're here. I try not to think about what she's going to say. None of this is in my control, and not having that power is unsettling. Looking up, I see Tori walking in. What are you guys doing up? She asks as she pulls down a mug. Your little rugrat was hungry and snuck downstairs, I tell her as I give Bailey a wink before I stand up. I'm gonna go get ready. When I walk upstairs, Maddie is still asleep, and I can hear the shower running as I grab some clothes out of the dresser and closet and then go to one of the downstairs guest bathrooms to shower. She still isn't downstairs when I'm ready. I pass by the kitchen, which is loud as everyone is making breakfast and visiting. When I spot Maddie, I decide to go up and check on Candace. The bathroom door's closed, and the smell of her shower fills the room, intoxicating me, making this more agonizing. But I suck it up because I don't want to make her uncomfortable with how strongly I'm feeling about all of this. When I knock on the door, she says, "Come in." She stands there in a pair of jeans and one of her college sweatshirts, hair stacked on top of her head, applying her lip gloss. I slide up next to her, leaning back against the counter, and watch. Grab her, touch her, kiss her. I shake my scrambling thoughts as she tosses her things into her small bag and avoids acknowledging me. But when she moves to walk past me, I grab her by the waist and pull her to me, asking, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, really." She lies, shutting me out. Looking at her, watching that tick of her brow, I ask, "You want to get out of here for a while?" She doesn't miss a second when she nods her head. Relief. She doesn't want to stay away from me. I slide my hand down her wrist and hold her hand, but this time I lace my fingers with hers, holding her differently, needing to, and head out. It's rainy this morning as I drive through the narrow, winding road in Ecola Park. I've always loved this area, dense with lush, tall trees and deep cliffs, I try to focus on the surroundings, but I can't escape my nerves. This is all new to me. I've never done this before, and I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna say. All I know is that I want her. I park the Jeep and grab one of my raincoats from the back seat for her to put on. Here, wear this, I tell her as she takes it from me and starts slipping it on. We get out, and I hold her hand again as I walk her down the old wooden stairs that lead down to Indian Beach. The wind is hitting hard as it mixes with the rain. It's cold, but I love this type of weather. Walking along the packed, wet sand of the beach, I hold on to her as we step over the piles of smooth black rocks to some logs of driftwood that sit back from the water. We sit down on one of the logs, and I watch Candace as she takes in the view. She has the hood popped up over her head. I like seeing her in my clothes, even if it's an oversized raincoat. I wrap my arms around her, and when I do, she speaks. This is amazing. Yeah, I love it out here. I used to surf here a lot growing up. She looks out at the hard-hitting waves, her cheeks already pink from the chill. My heart is racing, and I know it won't stop until I talk to her. Candace, I say as I turn, kicking my leg over the log to face her straight on. What's bothering you? And don't say nothing, because I know something is. She looks away, back out at the water. Her hands fidget, and I know she's deep in her head, but I need her here with me. Candace, I urge, bringing her focus back. She faces me, brows pinched together, worried. I just don't really know what we're doing. Tell me what you want. Tell me that it's me, that you want me, so I don't have to keep pretending. I'm not good at this stuff, Ryan. Neither am I. Come here, I say as I grab her leg and move her to face me. Time to get honest. I've wanted to kiss you since the night of the concert, I confess. I don't know where your head is at, but whenever I'm not with you, I want to be. I watch as she drops her eyes, shy. Talk to me, babe. Tell me you feel it too. She starts, trying to find her words and settling back on, I don't do this well. Do what? This. I can't take her shyness, so I hold her head in my hands, angling her to look at me when I finally admit, whatever this is, I want it. I just need to know if you do. My tone is intent because I know what I want here. Her eyes don't move from mine, and I wait for her response. For anything. I put it out there, and now my heart is racing with nerves, uncertain of her response. Then, finally, she gives it to me, and I want to fucking cling to her when she nods her head yes. Keeping my hands on her, I guide her to me and kiss her. I've never wanted anything as much as I want her, and when she slides her arms under my coat and around my waist, my heart finally starts to settle. I have her. Her lips are cold and wet with rain, and I squeeze her to me. I move slowly because the thought of rushing anything with her to quicken the pace of her touch would be stupid. So I take my time as I graze my tongue along her soft lips, and when she relaxes, allowing me to take more, I pass her lips and taste the warmth of her mouth. I'm relieved that she's giving me this, that she wants what I want, but I'm anxious because I've never done this before. Never have I had feelings like this for anyone, not even close to thinking that I could. She presses her fingers into me, tightening her hold, and I keep my hands on her jaw, marking her as mine like some pathetic puppy, but I do it anyway. She moves with me, sliding her tongue along mine, gently, without any sign of urgency, and I love that about her. that she would want the time the same way I do. When I feel her move her hands out from under my coat and wrap around my wrists, I pull back and ask, "Should we get out of here? Let's stay." "Come here," I say as I slide her on top of my lap, and she slips her arm around my neck, steadying herself on me. "Can I ask you something?" she says quietly. "Anything." "I never asked before because I didn't want to intrude, but where's your father?" she asks with a hint of trepidation. I don't talk to anyone about my dad. Never have. I hide it, bury it, and mask it with vices that make it easier to deal with. But I know she's hiding something too. I wish I knew what it was. So I go ahead and break off a piece of me and give it to her. "He died about 10 years ago." "I'm sorry," she says and drops her head away from me, abashed. "I shouldn't have asked." "Candace, you can ask me anything," I tell her as I lift her chin up. "I don't want you to feel like you can't, okay?" I don't know what else to say, but I do know I want her to start opening up to me. "Yeah," she breathes softly. "My dad was an asshole," I tell her, wanting to be honest with her. "He drank way too much and was never around. But when he was a total dick. So don't feel bad for asking, because I don't feel bad that he's dead." I know my words come out hard, but they come out in truth. She scans my face for a moment. She knows there's more behind my words, but I don't elaborate because what I just gave her is more than I've given anyone. So I leave it. I clutch her wrist and hold on to her when she looks over my shoulder and asks, "Is there a trail up there?" "Yeah, it's a pretty decent path if you want to go up there." "Yeah, let's go," she suggests, and I eye her leopard rain boots, asking, "Those have enough traction?" Laughing, she says, "We'll see." Stealing another kiss from her, enjoying the freedom of being able to, I stand and smile down at her before scooping her up and over my shoulder. This chick weighs nothing, and she begins to laugh as I haul her up the stairs. The giggles and squeals coming out of her are beautiful, and she never complains. I adore this side of her. Chapter 21. After hiking in the rain for over an hour, I didn't let the fact that we were rain-soaked stop me from taking Candace into Seaside to the Broadway Strip. We took our time, walking in and out of the shops and grabbing lunch. We came home and had an early dinner before everyone said goodbye and headed back home. It's just the two of us and my mom, so we've made no plans for the night. After Candace gets cleaned up, she makes herself comfortable on the couch downstairs, reading a book, while I take a quick shower. I was surprised with how easygoing she was after our talk on the beach. We fell into the laid-back feeling we have built up to in our friendship, but now there's no more gray. Toweling off, I throw on a pair of pajama pants and dry my hair. I hear my mom's voice when I walk out of the room, and I start making my way down the stairs, spotting Candace and my mom sitting on the couch. "No child should ever have to hear that," I overhear my mom telling Candace, and I ask, "Hear what?" curious as to what they're chatting about. As I walk across the room, I notice Candace's splotchy face, and I know she's been crying. She keeps from looking at me as she faces my mother, so I take a seat next to her on the couch and slip my arm around her when my mom answers me. "Candace is telling me about what happened the other night." "Mom?" I've been avoiding asking Candace how she's been feeling about the whole situation to keep from upsetting her. "It's fine," Candace assures me, so I stay quiet and listen as they continue to talk. I watch my mom take a hold of Candace's hand when she asks, Do you have any other family at all? No, it's only ever been the three of us since my father's parents passed away. What about your mother's family? I've never met them, Candace tells her. I have never known them to speak. I'm not even sure they know about me. Her voice trembles as she says this, and I run my hand up her back, wondering why she would have a side of her family that she's being kept away from. But before I can question it too much, my mother leans in and takes Candace in her arms, hugging her. We both have her in our hold when she begins weeping. I feel horrible, but glad that she's here with me and that she would open up to my mother, who's nearly a stranger to her. I think of how long it took Candace to show me even a hint of this side of herself. But I know my mom has a way about her that can make anyone want to open up. She's always been that person for me, so seeing her provide Candace a little of that, when I know she's probably never gotten it from her own parents, is a good thing. My mom pulls back, telling Candace exactly what I'm feeling as she wipes the tears from Candace's cheeks. I'm glad you're here with us. Candace only nods when my mom says, I'll let the two of you be, before walking out of the room. I pull Candace to me, resting her back onto my chest as I lean against the armrest. She continues to let out soft whimpers. Don't cry, babe, I say quietly. I'm tired, she tells me. I don't want to talk anymore. So I don't say anything else. Taking her hand, I lead her upstairs so that she can lie down. It's late, and I'm sure she's exhausted from our busy day. I let go of her hand when we hit the doorway and watch as she walks into the bathroom. I wait, listening to the faucet run, and when she returns, she doesn't say anything as she looks at me and gets into my bed. Her back is facing me, and I'm not sure what she wants me to do. I know what I want to do, so I swallow the questioning thoughts and decide to not leave her in here alone. I walk over to the edge of the bed, pull back the covers, and slide in behind her. She's curled into a ball, so I wrap myself around her, tucking her into me, when she wedges her hand underneath mine for me to hold. This small move is all I need to assure me that she wants me with her tonight, so I stay. Waking up with Candace is something that I can get used to, and I want to. So much so that when I dropped her off at her house after we drove back to Seattle today, I asked her to stay at my loft tonight. She didn't want to at first. Hell, even after trying to talk to her about why she's so apprehensive about it, I still don't think she wants to, but she wound up agreeing anyway. I know that Jace told me that she was inexperienced, but I'm not quite sure how inexperienced he meant. After seeing how shy she was when I told her I wanted her here tonight, I'm pretty sure this girl is more innocent than I thought. But I want her here, and I want her in my bed. I've never wanted anyone in my bed. I avoid it. Always have. Always keeping everyone I've ever brought here downstairs. But her. I want it with her. Getting a drink of water, I see headlights shine through the windows as her car pulls into my drive. She had to work the closing shift tonight, so it's a little past midnight as I watch her get out of her car. I head over to the door and wait for